Hey everybody, welcome back to the Combat Chain. I'm your host, Patrick. Stop making aggro Arachne try to work. It's not happening, Shaw. And with me as always is Adam. I don't always chill, but when I do, I chill insidiously. Philip Chuck. Adam, how are you doing today?
It is becoming such a fun treat to see what you're going to come up with for the middle names each week, and you did not disappoint this week. Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm coming off, of course, the big win against Yuki on stream. Part of me does like feel conflicted because it was such a big upset for Team Stroopwafel, but a huge boon for Team Combat Chain as we were able to clinch a 2-0 clinch a series win, get up 2-0, and now Team Combat Chain is tied for first with FaB Chaos, the Greek team, going into the last week of the round robin. So this has been super fun.
Excellent, and we'll talk more about FTC in just a moment. But first, I want to bring in our guest this week. He is a veteran caster and player of Magic the Gathering and Flesh and Blood. You can hear him alongside Ross Merriam on the MTG Rants podcast, and at Worlds, he became the personification of America. Fuck yeah. Tannon Grace, everybody. Tannon, welcome to the Combat Chain.
How's it going, guys? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. The one thing I forgot about is that you got the hair done. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about the inspiration for going blonde before I talk about anything else here.
Sure. So it's been quite a ride as a blonde. By the way, they do have more fun. It's confirmed. I've done this. It's fun not being recognized quite a bit. I don't know if you guys saw my Twitter the other day, but I was at a Magic event and someone actually came up to me and was like, "Has anyone ever told you look like Tannon Grace?" And I was like, "Yeah, all the time." Yeah, a complete Tony Hawk moment.
Yeah, Tony Hawk treatment right there. Yeah,
right. As for why it happened, it kind of was like a spur of the moment thing. I was like visiting some friends in Austin, Texas, and hanging out, and they heard about the idea of what I was going to do at Worlds of just wearing that suit, that you've so eloquently mentioned, the America suit. And I was like, yeah, I just like kind of really wanted to lean into it. And someone's like, yeah, you should just dye your hair blonde. And when they said it, everybody, that moment, it's like the eureka moment. Everybody got real quiet, and everybody's like, yeah, do that. So
happen.
Yeah, I made an appointment like 2 days later, got it done. I've never had anything like that done before. I didn't love the process, but I'll tell you this. I've been a big fan of it ever since. It might be here to stay. We'll see.
Right,
but it came out better than I thought it would. I thought it was going to be a disaster. But you know what? It made for some funny moments. It looked all right on camera with the suit. So, mission accomplished.
Excellent. I always think a little bit about the hair dye myself. For people who don't see me, usually, there's a lot of gray happening. It's premature gray. It's not premature bald, which is good, but it's really
that problem.
It's really dull. There's
nothing wrong with the salt and pepper silver fox look.
Yeah, it looks good. It looks like you rock it well. You know what I mean?
Thank you. I try. The wife says it's where it's at, but I always get a little. I'm not a huge fan, but it is what it is. Before we get into the nitty gritty with Tannon here, we're going to break into some news, almost breaking news. This came out yesterday, I believe, as of this recording, but Outsiders was announced by LSS as the next draftable set for Flesh and Blood, releasing worldwide March 24th, 2023, and pre-releases in stores worldwide on March 17th through the 20th. And with this set, we are going to the pits, home to Azalea and Arachne. So first I'm going to talk about is this pretty sizable announcement here. Gentlemen, what are we looking for in the next draftable set for FaB Outsiders? Tannon, what do you think about it so far?
I'm loving the announcement because it's great that we're going to see more support for these heroes. There's in my Discord, we've actually been talking about it. I wouldn't be surprised to see Azalea get living legend points in the next year, which is something that if you told me that last year, I would have laughed at you. I've been like, yeah, you're joking, right? Kind of thing. And then Arachne, very cool hero. I love the idea of like kind of a mid-range hero being playable in Flesh and Blood. Brian Gottlieb and I had a long discussion about this when it came out. He's been dropping hints about this for me for about a year now. He's like, we got something coming. We got something coming. You're going to like it. And the fact that hopefully that is going to be good and playable with a little bit more support, because I think it needs that, is something that FaB is definitely needed for what you've seen happen in CC for the last few months now. It's either you're extremely aggro or extremely control, and like not much in between. And I like having that dichotomy kind of choice. So super excited.
Adam, what do you think about Outsiders being announced?
I'm super excited, and two things come to mind right away. One is I'm glad to see we're going to the pits. I'm glad to see that Arachne is likely going to get support right away. I know when we had Brian and Flake on, and we were talking about our first impressions of Arachne, and this is before we've played Arachne or anything like that. And I was saying, I just have a feeling the idea is not going to be fleshed out in one set, especially like to get all the support in a supplemental set. I just didn't think it was going to happen. And sure enough, at this point, we're hearing a lot of people say Arachne doesn't feel complete. I'm glad that LSS is right away going, no, we're going to give you some support. We're going to and rightfully so, they're going to draw it out over a couple sets. I think Viserai, if you think about it, Viserai to reach his full potential took 3 sets. He needed, of course, Arcane Rising. Then he needed, got Sonata and Monarch. And then it was Everfest that finished him off to really reach his full potential. And I'm thinking Arachne's going to at least need 2 to 3 sets. And I'm glad that they're addressing it right away. And then we're going to get... This is interesting, too, because I remember hearing about even Azalea support when Az from Go Again Gaming got his spoiler given to him. And James White said, this is step 1 of a 2-part plan. This ties in interestingly enough into that, too, because this could be step 2 for making Azalea powerful. And James White never specified whether it would be souping up current Azalea or whether we'd get a Starvo treatment for Azalea. So, there's Outsiders could have a lot of really cool things in it. My other thing that came to my mind is immediately I saw in your notes, what do we want out of the next draftable set? And the big thing I want out of this set for draftability is I want more agency in the games. I want to feel like my matchup isn't just decided based on who I chose to draft and whether I got paired up, or whether where I'm seated in my pod just happens to line up with, if I'm on Fi and they're on Icelander, or if I'm on Icelander and they're on Droma. Yes, there is some ability to play around those matchups, and I do think that there's still more to Uprising draft than I think we've all given it credit for at this point. But I just want more agency in my games. I want to see them expand on the token concept, and maybe Phoenix Flame and Helios Miter were a good first step, and I want to see what else they're going to do in that realm of just giving us a land station to work with to make our decks a little more balanced and usable in draft. Maybe make it not as punishing.
A land station is a term I haven't heard in a little bit here. Tannon, expand a little bit on what you might be looking for in the next draft set in terms of the actual gameplay of drafting, especially compared to, as Adam said, to Uprising being so aggressive and seem to be so linear in your picking here. What does Outsiders need to kind of break out of that shell?
So that's a really good question, and I really like this one because limited is probably my favorite way to play games. I was a huge drafter in Magic, still do to this day. Love Cube, love drafting. It's my favorite way to play. Tales of Aria is an absolute masterpiece in my opinion. I think that format,
yes.
While it has, there's some small things here or there, right? And Sealed was nothing's perfect, but I thought the set was amazing. Your picks mattered. You felt like you had more agency. You felt the biggest problem I've always had with drafting in FaB is after I figure out what hero I'm in, 2 or 3 picks into my pack, I feel like I don't make decisions anymore, especially in Uprising. A lot of this got really, really brought to the forefront in Uprising. So what I'm looking for in this set is something with a little more agency. You kind of alluded to that yourself there in your answer, that your answer was really great. You kind of hit the nail on the head for me and what I want, where I want to feel like what I'm doing matters more. when I'm drafting. Maybe I have a little more freedom, maybe a little bit of a shake up. I'm not sure what. I'm not a game designer. There's a reason why I don't work for LSS, right? But I know when something isn't fully working. While I do think Uprising was better than I gave it credit for initially, there was some kind of doom and gloom. I think overall it's not going to go down as like my favorite draft set of all time, or probably even close. It might have something to do with the fact that we had to do it so much at, the high level over and over again. But I'm just looking for that. I'm looking for, 3 or 4 playable heroes that have a good, A beats B, B beats C, but C beats A kind of thing. So like you said, it isn't like you immediately sit down and you're like, well, I'm playing against this hero and they're getting to go first, so well, this sucks. Or I got to go second in the FaB mirror, so I won. It was like that easy, kind of thing. And just a little more agency for the players, I think, is a big deal. And hopefully we get that. I've heard some good initial rumblings.
I've heard that as well. We have, I think we all have our ears very closely attached to Gottlieb's ass at this point, trying to figure out
sure, yeah.
just any slip of the tongue here.
Every time I talk to him, I try to like zip in the question to see if he'll mess up and like break in DA for a second. He's so good. He's like that lawyer training comes out. Yeah. I don't know what it is. He's so good.
So. What would we prefer to see here? 4 heroes and like a couple talents or something along those lines, or something like Tails where it's 3 heroes with that kind of talent overlap to gain that flexibility?
I think I'd like to see what happens with 4. We've done the 3 and 3 thing before, which, I remember when we started drafting this, that people were worried. They were like, oh, there's only 3 heroes. I'm like, well, technically there's 6.
Right.
However you want to look at it, or 9, even if you want to like get really, really complicated with how it can work. And with 4, maybe it's too much. Hopefully it doesn't spread too thin. So like it just matters like what's the generic count in the set, what's the overlap count, because like that's where you start getting the nitty gritty and it gets difficult. But yeah, just that. Like you're like either one for me is great.
Right. Adam.
I'm not certain about. So unlike Tannon, I don't have a ton of Magic drafting experience, and I think I'm rather bad at it. For some reason, Flesh and Blood drafting just makes so much more sense to me. And I think it's, I guess I've just Magic I was just a casual player in this game. I dove into it headfirst and went down the competitive route. And the concepts I've tried to learn here, I never had them when I was playing Magic. I think that's what it comes down to. And now I'd just rather draft Flesh and Blood at the end of the day. Unfortunately for what it's worth. I do love Commander still. That part of Magic I will never be able to give up. But
yeah, it's great. It's probably the best thing to ever happen to the game, period. Like I've been on record saying that before. I think it, I don't know if it saved the game. Like some portion of it probably would have, kept it's 30 years old now, but that actually like just the second life of Magic when it came from Commander is unreal at the like kitchen table or LGS table level because of that thing. And if we can get off a topic for 2 seconds, if something like
We're
that
all about
can happen. Yeah, if something like that could happen for FaB, it's one of the questions I see in the show notes for this, and we'll circle back when we get there. But if something like that happens for Flesh and Blood, like you have UPF, right? And I've seen some games break out at events, but it's not like, having something to the level of Commander, if anybody's familiar with it at home that's listening, you get what I'm saying. Like I cannot go into an LGS that has Magic without seeing a Commander game going on at all times. There's always a game and there's always people waiting. It's like pick up basketball at your gym. There's always, dudes on the court shooting the ball, like ready to go, right? If you can make that happen for FaB, sky's the freaking limit at that point.
We even touched. Go ahead, Pat.
Yeah, go ahead. I think you're gonna make the exact same point. Go ahead.
We touched on that a little bit when we had Pheno Black on, and at least my theory is that PvE is going to be a huge piece of that for Flesh and Blood. I think that's.
I hope so.
I think that'll tie in the casual player really nicely, or at least that's my hope. But to answer your question, though, Pat, I genuinely don't know if I want 3 or 4 heroes, because I think Tales of Aria and Welcome to Wrath are the 2 best draft sets for this game so far. And if you look at what they're doing, they're drastically different. The one thing they have in common is there's a lot of overlap in just the fact that you can play a lot of different cards in your deck. Welcome to Wrath has a lot of generics, Tales of Aria had a lot of elemental and element cards that could just be played across different heroes and classes and stuff. And I guess that's, if there's one thing I want to see out of this set, is the ability to just have things stay open for a little bit longer than an Uprising. In Uprising, I think I did the math, and mathematically I wanted to have my hero locked in by pick 6, I think, and I the more the set went on, and less I would just experiment with like picking from pack 1, just going, this is a good card for this hero, I'm going to try to force this hero, because Uprisings seem to reward that. And I want to see more, to Tannon's point, I want to see more ability to just like have impactful decisions later in the draft, and see where that leads.
Excellent. So with the announcement that it is to the pits, it does lead me to our first community question from Lee McLeod on Twitter. Asks, what region that we haven't been to yet are you looking forward to the most? And was it the pits?
I'll go ahead and answer first. So I didn't have it so I'm not like a super lore guy, right? Like me, I'm like, if you're a Magic guy, I'm a Spike. You know what I mean? Like I am there to win. I want to win. I'm super competitive when it comes to games. Like it's just the way I identify. Go ahead.
What do they call the lore people in Magic? I forget the term. It's a V. It's like a vol something.
I'm not sure. I kind of lumped them in with like the Timmies or the casual, whatever. Which one's for the casual? Because is Timmy the combo player, right? Or is that Johnny?
Oh God, it's been so long.
Is it Vorthos?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. That's it. Yes.
The Vorthos is the lore people.
Sure. So they're that. So like I'm not super big on the lore. So for me, anywhere with something new going on is great, right? But I'm actually going to turn this on its head a little bit on the answer, because one of the things I want to do is I'm actually super looking forward to the first time we have like a real return set. Like, in Magic, they've had like Return to Ravnica, right? Or like, something remastered. The first time we like go back to somewhere, and like, we've gotten a second Bravo, right? But we go somewhere and it's like, well, you don't have Chain anymore. Well, here's Chain, comma, blah, blah, blah. Here's the other Chain that's playable now. Here's Fixed Chain. And then like, here's a new Light Illusionist, like we get to kind of return to a thing, and they get to learn from the first thing, what worked, what didn't, what did we want to change and do that. So that's actually my big one. So it's like an answer for a non-answer.
No, you know what? That is good, because I just got more goosebumps thinking about Return to Wraith than I did about Outsiders.
Yeah. Great name, right?
Can we return to Wraith though? We never left it.
Well,
sure.
Hey,
return to Welcome to Wraith. How about that?
Oh, that's terrible.
It's a mouthful.
Excellent. Fab Team Cup, Adam. We touched on it at the beginning here, but let's dive in a little bit here. FTC Combat Chain news. What do you got?
All right, so super exciting stuff going on so far in the league. It's actually funny, Jesse, the commissioner, and I were talking about this behind the scenes about how even though it's a cup, we've all just defaulted to calling it a league. And that seems to be sticking, so that's kind of funny. We are in week 3 of the round robin, the final week, and we are looking towards the elimination rounds at this point. And players right now are playing to kind of figure out where they're going to sit whether they're going to, I think for the most part, the decisions for most teams as to who's going to, well, no, there's a few divs where the middle pack teams still kind of haven't decided yet. We're going to go through the standings here in just a second, but yes, the teams are at this point either playing to get into the top 16 or to just get better seeding on the top 16. So looking at the top here, in Div 1, we've got two teams we've got two teams that are both tied for, not tied for, they're like just about neck and neck for first and second place. The Hyperloops, featuring, of course, Joe Cologne. And then we've got Team Chowub. So they're both sitting neck and neck at a match record of 2-0. A game record, Hyperloops have just beat by one game. So they're a very tight race for the first and second seed in Div 1. In Div 2, we've got, once again, this time around, Team Gold. They've got the match record 2-0 locked up, and the only 2-0 at this point in that div. So as long as they can kind of keep their interestingly enough, Team Ascent in second place has the same game record as Team Gold. They're both tied at 6-4. So Team Gold, I think, does have the first place seeding locked up unless something goes drastically wrong for them. Playing for the second seed in that div, we've got Hometown Ascent and the Runaways. They are both tied at a 1-1 record, and they are actually playing each other this week. So that's a spicy little matchup to decide Div 2. In Div 3, we've got Team Jin and Tunic holding down the 2-0 record with a 7-3 game record. The race for second place is between Team Dice Commando and Team Separatist Union, both tied at a record of 1-1. Team Dice Commando has a 5-5 game record. Separatist Union 4-6. So Separatist Union does have, well, I guess, yeah, that one, it'll come down to whoever wins the series there. In Div 4, we've got Team Belgium at a 2-0 record. The tiebreakers there, Team Sneep versus Team Brazil. Team Sneep playing they're both 1-1 for the match records with a game record of 6-4 for Team Sneep and 4-6 for Team Brazil. Div 5, we've got the Experience holding down the first spot at a 2-0 match record. The fight for second between Team Card Advantage and Magnolia Gaming. Some big names on both those teams. So they're both tied 1-1 playing for that second seed spot, unless, once again, something goes seriously wrong for the Experience. Div 6, we've got the Card Guys in first place. Everyone knows the Card Guys. They've got the 2-0 match record with an impressive 8-2 game record. So if they can have a really good week here, week 3. Let's see, who are they playing? This is Div.
They are facing the Clout Chasers.
Okay, and
friends of the pod, Clout Chasers.
Yeah, and Clout Chasers, yeah, they've had an unfortunate season. Like I believe they're 0-2 currently, and that does not represent their skill level. I haven't had a chance to catch their games, but. Just, yeah.
You're breaking the news to me as well as the audience, so this is terrible news for me to hear.
Super unfortunate for them. But in Div 6, FaB Cards, who's got a friend of the channel, Flake, is tied 1-1 with...
by the way.
Sorry, FaB? Go FaB. Okay.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of FaB Cards, yeah.
Yeah, no, good guys. Yeah, they are. They're playing for that likely that the second place in Div 6. They're playing against the Invaders, I believe. No,
that's an Asian Pacific team.
Yes, the Invaders are Asian Pacific, either Malaysia or Indonesia. I'm not certain which it is, but. Another solid, a lot of talent on the Invaders as well. In Div 7, we have yours truly, Team Combat Chain, in 2-0 match record. However, Team FaB Chaos, the Greek team, has also been playing really well and has a 2-0 record. Both teams are tied at a 6-4 game record. So this, we're playing for first place seeding at this point, and it's gonna, all the marbles are gonna see who emerges victorious, and then in the in the last div we have Team Blue Pitch in the 2-0 slot, first place, with once again an impressive 8-2 game record, and then for playing it out for second, unless something goes terribly wrong for Blue Pitch. It'll be Team Rocket or Indie Arsenal. They both have the 1-1 match record, with the only teams registering a draw so far this season. Team Rocket at a game record of 5-4-1 and Indie Arsenal 4-5-1. So they're going to be playing it out for that second place spot in Div 8. Beyond that, we are just looking towards the top 16 at this point. I can say we just had a few meetings behind the scenes this weekend. We are really excited. I'm finding myself just increasingly involved in the administrative side of things, and it's been super fun. But we're planning big things for the top 16. We can kind of allude to there may be some stakes on the line at the end of the day. We're working on figuring out the logistics right now. Because there was no buy-in, unfortunately, it just took us a little more time to figure it out. But I can say Travis from FaB Foundry is working really hard with that, putting his blood, sweat, and tears into giving the players something to play for. So that's super exciting. And I'll cap it off with, we are planning streams. Yeah, we've got Wednesday, Friday, and we're going to do a special Sunday stream this week to announce the top 16. We've got some special stuff that we're going to be announcing during that Sunday stream. But we do have Michael Hamilton on Wednesday that we're going to be featuring, and capping that off with a Joe Cologne match. So that's going to be a really good Wednesday night. Still figuring out the Friday night matches at this point, though.
Excellent. Tannon, 32 teams. What was the best name that you heard out of those? That might be the first time you were hearing some of those. I imagine.
Gin and Tunic.
Yeah,
that's I don't know if you saw me, but I was holding back a giggle when you had said I like that one a lot.
There is also I do think this one's good, Team Big Deck Energy.
Yes,
that was great too.
I'm a big fan of those.
Yeah.
Adam, you know what I say about tiebreakers? You know what the best tiebreaker is? Winning. Win your games, and you don't have to worry about anything else.
I thought you were going to say love. Like, love brings us all together. Love is the ultimate tiebreaker.
Winning is the friends we made along the way. Funny story. So Combat Chain is season record is 2-0. Our match record is 6-4. I'm proud to carry 50% of those losses, as I am 0-2 for the season. Someone has to be the goose egg, and it is me. But that is okay.
You're still number one in our hearts.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Right. I play well. I got rocked by a Briar. I was on FI, and I got double this rounded on me. They drew like a turn 0 Channel Mount Heroic off of the turn 0 this round.
You're dead.
Yeah, and that's right. So that was the game. It just wasn't meant to be. But Tannon, the online bracket style tournament scene is not foreign to you, as the Goliath Gauntlet just wrapped up here, with the finals being the shocking to a lot of people, Majin Bay versus DM Armada. Give us a little retrospective here on the Goliath Gauntlet, and your thoughts, and perhaps a look into the future of Goliath Gauntlet tournaments.
Tell you what, I'll do all of that, and I'll even drop some a nugget here that hasn't been announced publicly yet about that. But I actually hear from you two first, and spare my feelings. If you didn't like something, tell me. How did you? And if you didn't watch it, it's fine, obviously. But how did you feel about the Goliath Gauntlet for the first time around? Because we got this together. I won't say anymore. How did you feel?
Well, I'll tell you what. Not only when this came out, we were so ready. We ran the if you saw the Goliath Gauntlet pregame bracketology special, that was us. So we were raring to go.
I completely forgot y'all. Yeah, I'm sorry.
So it was we weren't combat chaining it up. We were just doing like it was just So we put that video out. But we were ready to go, and it was good. I think what we expected to happen in terms of the quality of player inversely proportionate to their quality of cam setup was right about where we thought it was, but that cleaned itself up into the second rounds. Otherwise, they were good games. If nothing else, I think the most exciting and kind of shocking part was, like, not to crap on DM, but like he built himself up. There was a story there that Stephen Cookus, like, against all odds, was making it happen and just shocking the world. Ethan Mansant taking on Pablo Pintor, like, that was a genuinely exciting moment to see Levia go off and do a thing, and watch. At the time, you had arguably one of the greatest players in the world actively right there, going, I cannot stop this monster of a deck. And it was almost like a proof of concept for Ethan, right? It was like a great
coming out party
farewell almost, because at the same time he was really kind of sunsetting his time there. But I think the games were great. The commentary was good. It was awesome
Thank
to
you.
get Mitch Leslie and you and and Flake, and we had Hayden Dale jumped on, and it was done really well, right? And when no matter what you do, if you put if you give it the respect and like prestige that you want it to, you can feel that as it comes out. And I thought that came across really well all the way through to the finals.
Thank you very much, Adam.
I loved the concept right away. To me, the part of what makes, and even in part of what is causing me to have so much fun with running the FaB Team Cup content stuff is creating fan bases and giving people something to buy into for this game. We've talked about it a lot on the Combat Chain about what's it going to take for this game to be successful long term, and I think there's enough of us, like the competitive player base, and we've got content creators and game celebrity. I'm trying to think of the right word. Yeah, I'm going to go with game celebrities that, these people that have all bought in and have, we believe in this thing, but we still, in the grand scheme of things, we have to get the so many casual players to buy in, and things like becoming fans of pro players or like PvE or just so many different things like that are going to lead that. And I think things like the Goliath Gauntlet help that, because casual players are the one who are going to, consume the most content, and this is such a good piece of content to give to them. So, I thought you guys did a bang up job. The narratives were really well spun, and it was a lot of fun.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate the kind words from both of you. Yeah, that's exactly what we were trying to do. That was a lot of like our inner mission statement, was the fact that, we wanted to be able to humanize the player a little bit more, bring it into your forefront. And at the level at which we did it, and the speed at which we did it and all this stuff, it hadn't really been done before. There was like definitely some open, there's some cups and stuff going on, but it's not put out for that kind of consumption, kind of thing. And I was like, it all started one day. Mitch Leslie, or Uber, as I like to call him, Uber shouts, if you think that if you have anything nice to say about me as a commentator, he is 10 times the person I am in this space. In fact, he's like, if I have a coach and someone that I talk to about stuff, that's actually who I go to. He's literally sat down with me before and watched rounds of me doing commentary of Magic, of Flesh and Blood, and like just sat there and talked to me about it, like giving me coaching on it. And that's, out of the goodness of his heart, and it was free for him to do that for me. And for, if you were to go out and find coaching for that, you're looking at something extremely expensive for him, because he's one of the top commentators in the world in this space. He just happens to really like this game, and he and I are actually been friends for years, going back. And I remember one day I was like, hey, mate, you might like this game, come try it out, and he's like, yeah, I absolutely love this game, Flesh and Blood. So he just got super into it. He got Doa into it, who in turn got into this. So we're just sitting around one day, we're chatting. We're on the Discord that doesn't exist. I'm sure you've heard of that joke.
We have one ourselves.
Sure, right? And it's funny because like we all play Overwatch together, and that's mostly what he's known for, right? He's like the main caster in the Overwatch League, that huge thing on YouTube. Like they dwarf they were the most watched, I think, channel on YouTube gaming this year by like a margin, which is huge. Like they're bigger than like Tim the Tap Man and some of these guys, they're making millions and millions of dollars and stuff. So, anyway, we're just sitting around one day, we're chatting.
Millions of dollars. Tim the Tap Man is a millionaire.
Yes.
Oh man,
like many times over.
I just know him from TikTok videos. I didn't know.
Just the contract he probably got to switch from Twitch to YouTube gaming. They probably offered him I would assume like $4 million just to switch over. Like that's just off the top of my head. It had to be a big number. Anyway, because like I heard what like Ninja and them got to switch over to. What was the platform that only survived for like 6 months? Remember they had like that other platform.
It was YouTube Gaming, but
no, there was another one that like all of it anyway, I can't think of the name of it.
I know what you're talking about. Anyway,
we're all sitting around, and we kind of just like came to this idea organically that like none of this has ever happened. There's room in this, and Uber was like really pushing it. And so we're all sitting there, and we're all kind of like the idea man. We always have great ideas, but you need that one person to kind of like push and execute the idea. So I decided just to like pull my britches up, and I emailed a bunch of people at LSS. I was like, hey, we have this idea, and I want you to understand how long it took to get all this off the ground and to work correctly. This was well before New Jersey that all this was going on. And I had an in-person meeting with some of them in New Jersey, told them my ideas, and then it was mostly questions of like, what can't we do? Like, what do we need to, avoid stepping on your toes? What can we say? What can we not say? Will you guys help us? Like, et cetera, et cetera. And they were extremely supportive of us, but they wanted to make sure that they didn't exhibit any favoritism. They're like, we can't really like provide you a prize. We can't provide you with like, points or anything like that. We can't make it like, that kind of thing.
Yep.
And so I was like very understanding, right? And they were like, yeah, we wish you guys the best. It was really funny after the first episode aired, or like literally it was that night that it aired. I got DMs and emails from like 4 different people at LSS, and they're just like, okay, how do we help more now? Like once they saw the first episode, they were like, oh, this is what's going on, kind of thing, which was great. And everyone behind the scenes really worked their ass off in their own particular way. Like, Mitch did a lot of heavy lifting with the commentary, as well as Flake did, because like I took a big step back from that. I was very busy. I was in the middle of like moving. I didn't have a good internet connection where I was at. And, like you could see it. I think like if you really watch closely, you could tell you could barely see me. My connection's not great. I busted my ass getting the league together, getting everybody together. Wrangling 16 gamers together and making them find the right time to play. You get what I'm going at here. It's not easy.
Oh yeah, yep.
And but everybody was absolutely great, by the way. Everyone that competed in the event was just top notch. It was super easy. They were all excited. Everyone was like, we would have done this for free. Mitch put up a decent bit of the prize pool out of his own pocket just to make sure that they got the first one going. KFaB Cards helped a ton with that, as well as their sponsors. We have about 3 other people that we're talking to sponsoring for the second one. So I guess that's the first official confirmation that there's going to be a second Goliath Gauntlet.
Heard it here first, folks.
Yep, there you go. LSS and PGS definitely like really stepped up towards the end there for us with adding the extra prize in, which I think it's in the mail right now, like physically in the mail right now, going out to Majin. He got for anybody who doesn't know, he got a gold foil Goliath Gauntlet from LSS, but we sent it to Matt Rogers' grading company. They graded it. They put it in a slab, and it says Goliath Gauntlet Champion on the slab, like initial
that's
Goliath
awesome.
Gauntlet Champion. So he's got a custom gold foil Goliath Gauntlet for winning the first one. I can't guarantee that we'll be able to do that for all of them. It's extremely not cheap. They helped us out a ton with that, obviously, and we have to work within our own means, because none of us made $1 off of this, by the way. Also, 985 Media, who puts out a lot of Flake stuff and a lot of the other stuff, and they did all of this for free, by the way. All of the production that you see on it, and they worked their asses off for that as well, and put out an amazing product, which we would not have been able to do at the level we did if we didn't have this much help. So they busted their butts doing that. As for the second one, don't have a date yet, but I'm gonna say quote unquote soon. We've had some initial talks. We can make this happen very fast when we do, because we want to have something with the new set coming out and have some of that. The problem is like we were kind of excited, a little more excited, then we were like, I don't know if anyone would actually play Arachne out of the new set, kind of thing. So we're kind of trying to figure out where we want to time this. Maybe we'll do it right before the ProQuest season, so you have something to kind of, oh hey, I loved that deck, that Matt Rogers played this week or whatever, so I'll play that in my ProQuest. Which, there you go, that's another spoiler. Matt Rogers is one of the confirmed returning people. We have 2 people confirmed returning so far. It's gonna be Matt Rogers, because he's Matt Rogers and I love him and whatever, and obviously Majin Bay. It's the defending champ's gonna come in and try to post the first place. I am not surprised by him winning, by the way, or Armada making it as far as I have. I have played both of them in multiple games of Flesh and Blood and or other card games, and you can tell right away like their prowess when you sit down across them. They're very good.
Yep. Yeah, I feel like I say about once a week at this point that Majin Bay is slept on in Flesh and Blood consistently, and if nothing else, he can use that to his advantage until he gets till he wins a Pro Tour, which he's close to.
Yeah. If he wins a huge event this year, don't be surprised.
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't matter how much time he has, because he's like his main job is content creation for Legends of Runeterra, and he's one of the best, if not the best player in the world of that game too. And then he plays other games as well. Like he's in a chat with me, and he's like, "Hey, what do you think of this game? What do you think?" I'm like, "Dude, chill. Like, take some time off."
Excellent. All right, we are going to move on now to the origin story. Tannon.
Oh God, sure.
No one escapes the origin story.
Sure.
So, who are you, and how the hell did you get here? Tell us a little bit about your journey in casting and Magic and
Sure.
Flesh and Blood? Drop it down.
Casting kind of just fell into my lap. Like if I remember right, I think my first real gig, I like someone got sick or something. I just set in for somebody for like a round or two, and they were like, "Hey, you're pretty good. You like to do this again?" I was like, "Sure." I have like no actual background in it whatsoever. Like I have a business degree from Louisiana State University. I have like no communication background or anything like that. So, but I found that I like it. I was a competitive player for Magic for a very long time, and poker, for the last 20-ish years. God, I'm so old thinking about all that now. And but when it comes to FaB, it's very interesting. So, thinking of the first event that I did, the first anytime anyone ever saw me in Flesh and Blood was for the Tales of Aria world premiere in Las Vegas. About, I don't know, a month before, maybe 4 weeks before the event, I get a message from a guy named Jeff Foster. Everyone at home probably doesn't know that name, but you've seen infinite of his work. Almost every broadcast that I've done for Magic or Flesh and Blood, he's been one of the main people behind the scenes doing all of this. You've actually seen him on camera for like half a second once. He like helped out with one of the skits once. He's the guy that drapes the flag on me during the final when I'm like wearing the suit and we're just being ridiculous. Yep. That's Jeff. But Jeff is a completely unsung hero in this space. Like he's one of the people who'll never get the credit that he deserves. He's completely fine with it, and he busts his ass all the time to do well. So he messages me and he's like, "Hey, have you heard of Flesh and Blood?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've heard of it. My local game store has it. They have a good following." And there was a specific player too who was like, "Dude, you're gonna love this game. You should really try it." And I just like never had time. I was like always doing Magic and stuff like blah blah blah. And I was like, "Yeah, I've heard of it. Nothing but good stuff. A couple of my friends are already playing it. What's up?" And he's like, "They have a calling coming up," which he had to keep referring to it as the Magic equivalent. He's like, "There's a Grand Prix coming up," and he's like, "I've always wanted to like, have you do more casting like in the forefront. And I've always wanted to like," he's like, his quote was, "I've had you in my back pocket for a while for this kind of stuff. Do you want to do it?" And I was like, "Okay, like, where is it?" He's like, "It's Vegas." I was like, "Okay, you've got me already." It's in Vegas. Sure. He's like, "It's in 4 weeks. Can you learn the game in that time?" And I remember in my mind thinking, yeah, how hard could it be? Right? Like this can't be that hard. So I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I get off the talk with him. We talk time and stuff. I like, go to look. I can book flights, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I go and Google, like, I'm like, if anybody here, plays Magic, there's like the Magic Online client, there's Arena and all that stuff. And I was like, I'm just going to download the Arena client for Flesh and Blood, and I'll just be the best player in the world in like 2 weeks, right? Easy peasy. I'll just play 10 hours a day for like 5 days straight. I'll be amazing. And I start Googling, and I keep Googling, and I realize I made a mistake. I was like, this is going to be very difficult. So I had to learn how to play physically. I only had like 3 weeks to do it, or 2.5 weeks. It was like some very small amount of time. And at the time I lived in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and we got hit by a hurricane. So I lost power for a week and like couldn't leave my house. And they sent me some stuff in the mail. So I was like playing with Blitz decks, but they sent me like Chain and Prism. So like trying to learn the game off. And I was like, what is going on? I don't know what any of this does. So eventually, I got through a bunch of videos. I learned Chain going into the event because I was like, look, that's going to be half the matches. So I might as well know one hero pretty well and stuff. And I cannot say enough how much Red Zone and DM Armada saved my ass on that event and like really carried me and stuff. And I was like very, very, thankful. But it was really funny. So like, I show up the day before and I sign up for the pre-release and I'm like playing in the pre-release. And by the way, this community is great. Everybody's like introducing themselves, asking me what's going on. Like, hey, are you playing tomorrow? I'm like, no, I can't play tomorrow. And I kept like trying to like talk around it, but they'd be like, oh, well, why not? I'm like, oh, I'm working the event. And they're like, oh, are you a judge or something? I'm like, no, I'm like doing commentary for the thing. And one person was just like, well, I swear this is like my first round opponent. And they're like, you're doing commentary? That's amazing. How long have you been playing? And I'm like, this is my first game. And they're like, what? I'm like, I've actually never played like a real game. I've watched the game a bunch. I've like learned how to play. I've learned the decks, but this is my first actual game of Flesh and Blood. And he like tried to go really slow. I'm like, no, I'm good. Like you can play the game. Like we played. So I got to play a few rounds. Played some more of the constructed games, and then the rest is history. It was pretty great too, because like they had told me, they're like, there's 4 callings this year. We're gonna give you a try at the first one, and then we'll see from there what happens. And then it was like halfway through day 1, they're like, hey, do you just want to do all of them? I'm like, yes, like just sign me up for everything. James White like DM'd me that day on Twitter, and like I got like tears in my eyes, man. He was just like so thankful for, he DMs me after like almost every event, man. He's so great. This community is so amazing. And I mean, that's kind of the origin story. There you can go back a bajillion years for, Magic and poker and video games and all that stuff. But that's the origin story for Flesh and Blood, and that's what we're here to talk about, right?
It is. You say that. I am curious because I
Sure.
know you
Sure.
as the caster, but not as the player. So
Sure.
do give me a little bit of your pedigree here on
You want, like, a
Magic and
resume?
poker. Yeah.
Sure.
Drop the stats.
Sure. Let me see if I can remember most of the. So I've played and qualified for like dozens of pro tours in Magic. I think my biggest finish in a Magic pro tour, I think a top 16 one, like nothing super great. I have some really high finishes in GPs, which are callings for Magic. I have some top 8s or whatever. There was another circuit you could play on, which is the SCG circuit, which has put on some events here in FaB. I have a dozen top 8s of SCG opens. These events generally have like over 1,000 players in them, and I did pretty well on that circuit for a few years when I was like competitive. I was on and off a professional poker player for a very long time. I got into it at a very young age. Played online a lot. I lived in Vegas for like 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually recently started playing again a little bit, but I've kind of stepped away from that for a long time. And I just always got super competitive. I'm one of those people. I don't have a hobby in which I don't take serious. Like I got
I feel that
competitive at like everything I did. Yeah. Like I got really into golf in high school and I have a state championship, and I suck now. So like I don't really play much. And then like, there's the same thing with like Magic, poker, and this, and video games. When I was a kid, I had an older brother who would play with me and just never let me win, which was like, I think the reason why I got really competitive and decent at games.
Awesome.
I also feel
awesome.
that I'm the older brother that never lets my siblings win. I figured they got to earn it, and when they do, they're gonna feel so good about it.
Yeah. I think it's a great way to do it. Yeah, especially stuff like that, like competition. It's real life stuff. Like obviously help them out. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
of course. That's
Yeah.
fine though, because my brother kicks my ass at Rocket League all the time, so the tables are leveled out there.
Yeah. My brother stopped playing with me at one point. He's like, "Yeah, this isn't fun for me anymore."
I'm the middle child, so I was the black sheep.
that?
No one wanted to play with me.
No one wanted to play with you. That's
No. Actually, so it's funny. I am like the nerd of the family. So
no way.
There's I know I did podcasts about card games. I'm 36.
I know, right?
So I was the gamer. No one else was. My brothers on either side were like athletes. My whole family is athletics. There's like pro athletes on like my mother and father's side.
What happened to you?
Everyone's tall. I got every recessive gene.
I got the short gene.
That was it. I got everything bad. It happened. But yeah, everyone's my family functions are like 6'4" people, and then it's just like, hey guys, hey,
Yeah.
all right.
How's the weather up there? Yeah.
Flesh and blood, anyone? And it's just, no one quite understands. But that's all right. So Tannon, you've been a Magic the Gathering man for some time now, so you have a unique perspective in the TCG world. We're gonna get into competitive card games right now, and the conflict or lack thereof between Wizards and LSS here. Are Wizards and LSS jockeying for the same competitive space now? You've been to plenty of callings, and most recently Worlds for Flesh and Blood, and you just did an RCQ, if I'm saying that right?
Yeah,
RC, the Dream
RCQs
Hack.
are what qualify for the RC.
Okay,
yes.
Yeah, yep, that's right. For Magic,
there's a million little things for all the different games, and they're so close. I don't know how I keep up with them, honestly.
So how are these events comparing to each other in terms of both like morale, feel, scope, scale? How is Flesh and Blood faring against Magic the Gathering, especially since the resurgence of organized play, so to speak, with Wizards?
That's the most important thing. The last thing you said. Organized play is back for Wizards. I'm not going to mince words. Overall, it kind of stinks in comparison to what we had. But it's players are just so keen on doing anything and competing in any way that they're like eating it up. They're like, yeah, this is great, and I'm like, it could be better, But we could always ask for more. Are they competing in the same space? Yes, it's definitely a thing. Like you definitely see tons of crossovers. If you look at, it's really funny. I had a local player. And he told me, like, when I got into it, he's like, you Magic players, you're not just going to come into Flesh and Blood and rule like you do in Magic with your net decking and stuff. Like, he said all that stuff. And it's funny. If you look at all the best players in the world, they're all Magic players. And, I'm not saying you had to, but like a lot of them came from that, they have that pedigree, that have that base that comes from it. So they are competing against each other. And you're seeing some actually take steps back. I think of a lot of the Canadian players that were very, very good, the Isaac Krutz, the D-Roots, those kind of guys, they're taking steps back from FaB and going maybe possibly back into Magic a little bit. I think there is space for both of them to succeed together. I think there's space for both of them to succeed at the same time. And I think LSS and FaB did an awesome job at doing so under I don't know if the conditions could have been worse for FaB. Over, like,
for sure.
Talk about doing the best thing you can with the least that you've got, because nothing could have been worse for FaB than what happened over the last, the climate of the planet in the last 3 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And rightfully so, they did as much as they could to, be as respectful as possible with everything, but they had to get their product out there. They had to survive, right? And it was a big boon for them, I think, is the fact that, they were the first competitive outlet really for physical card games for a while to come at like that scale. And I thought it was a huge thing and a huge feather in their cap for them. And I think they're doing a great job. I think this is really the year. Like, this year right now is going to be the most telling year. The follow up to what happened this year. What happened this year that happened, and I'm saying the next year coming up, is going to be the most telling thing. And I think they're going to nail it. I mean, I have the utmost faith in LSS and all of its employees, because when it comes down to it, they're us. Like, right. James, Chris, all these guys, I've met them, I've talked to them, I've had dinner with them multiple times. I have never felt so welcome. I have never been thanked so much in my life. And they're gamers. Like, they play the damn game. They don't have some CEO just trying to turn bigger profits every quarter like we do at other companies, which I'm not going to name, but you can guess, that just sit there and keep throwing more product in your face every 5 minutes. This one it's just a bunch of people who actually care about the product and care about you as an individual and want you to have the best experience possible. One of the problems is anytime something doesn't go right or they have to kind of change something, you don't see it right away. So think about, like, Magic or Flesh and Blood, these sets that you're seeing, like, the new set that we're going to see in a couple months, right? When we're going to the pits, that set was done months and months and months ago. Like, right. The initial talks of this was a year ago. So when something has to change, you're going to see a little bit of a lag on it. So, things are going to get better this year. I'm expecting better organized play overall. When I say we, I'm using LSS in there. I do not work for LSS. I'm going to remind everybody at home, I'm a contractor. But when I say we, it's like, we could have been better overall. LSS could have been better, like, being more proactive, telling you a little bit ahead of time, like when events are happening, where they're at. You could kind of, get your schedule down a little bit better. We could all ask her.
People are feeling that a little bit right now as we speak.
Yep. And I assume we're getting it. We're going to use this hashtag again soon. I assume we're getting all this soon. So, we're kind of waiting for that with the Goliath Gauntlet and stuff as well. But when it comes to it, this one just feels different to me. I've been around a bunch of the games. I've seen all the flash in the pans. I remember like Versus Card Game and some of these other ones that were like huge. You look at Gwent, talking about Flake. He just did the World Championships for that. And I think that game's done. I think they're actually done. Like, I think there's no more competitive play beyond this. I hope I'm not dropping a nugget that I'm not supposed to know there. But, I've seen this stuff. I've seen the flash in the pan. I've seen the ones go away. And this one feels different to me. It feels like it's got the right people behind it. Mistakes will be made. Are they perfect? No. I mean, no one ever is. But they're going to do the best job they can. And I have full faith in them.
Now, you just put a pretty good bow on it, but I do want to get it out here. Sure. The next community question there's a Clark Jansen on the Discord. Since Tannon has been involved in TCGs for many years as a player, podcaster, and I'd be interested to hear if he thinks Flesh and Blood has long-term staying power and why or why not. I think you spelled out the why here, but a concrete, is FaB here to stay?
Yes, I firmly believe that. Like, I actually own cards, right? Like, I own decks. I mean, I wouldn't be investing money if I didn't. I wouldn't be investing as much time into the game if I didn't believe in it. The biggest thing for me kind of circles back again to what we were talking about earlier. Like, you need that casual outlet a little bit more. They're doing more and more with that, and I fully expect something to happen in this year coming up that really cements that. You guys talking about PPE and some stuff. I fully expect us to be like blown away by something, right? Something like actually concrete, something because you have to give people more than just this like competitive outlet, because honestly, like armories overall are hurting just a little bit right now. There's not a lot going on. There's not a lot of new stuff going on, and the same players are winning a lot, right? Like this game has a little less variance than some of the other games. So like if you have a local guy that's really good, it's going to be hard to beat that person, kind of thing. So maybe a different outlet for some of these kitchen table people, because here's the thing. The kind of player that I am when it comes to Magic or Flesh and Blood, take away the casting part, take away the production part. I'm the spikiest of spikes. Like I want to win a damn Pro Tour. Like I'm the worst player for your game and your player base. I don't make you a lot of money. I don't do a lot of stuff for you other than like you might get to like broadcast my games, and some people are like, oh, I want to play the deck Tannon played, or I want to play the deck Matt Rogers played. Like, that's great. But when it comes down to the physical part of it, I'm not consuming everything in this game, right? I'm not out there buying every single product like these people are. I'm not the one who really moves your needle when it comes to that. And those people need more love than I do. But what we get is flashier. We get the $1 million prize pool announcement, right? We get all this stuff. You see that, right? You get to see that in the production quality and stuff. But the other person, they need their piece of the pie too, and I think that's super important. Hopefully that's addressed even more this year, because I think they've been doing a great job of it so far. You just want to make sure it's as good as it can possibly be.
For sure. So, we bring up like what needs to happen in terms of we need the casual sector there. We think that it's going to be in this PvE environment. Are we putting too much possibly on it? I mean, there feels like there's a lot of room for failure in this one avenue, and it's such like a niche. We talk about PvE as like this big broad thing, but
the savior, right? Like,
right, yeah. It's the savior, but in execution, it's almost like I think everyone's kind of consensus like feeling on it is not quite a D&D type adventure thing, but a very similar vein there. And I know for me, like I don't know if that's. I don't know if it's not Commander. I'm not a big UPF guy. I don't know if this, at least in the execution of like a game master in front of me, guiding something along is going to be it for me. But do you have any ideas of what, like for you, what would you want out of that casual kitchen table style format?
Replayability. Like that's the biggest thing for me. It's like if it's like a one and done thing, that's not going to do it for me, and that's probably not going to do it for a lot of the casual people. But if you can have replayability, like the thing about Commander is like a lot of the games, it can be pretty similar, but like something different happens every time. You're playing with like 3 or 4 people. You can get together on a Friday night, have a few beers, grab a pizza, right, or go to your LGS and meet new friends. I think that is the biggest thing in Magic. It's the easiest way to make new friends is show up to your LGS with your Commander deck and ask to join a pod. And then you start making friends, right? I mean, if you kill them all in like turn 2, they're probably not going to like it right away. What I mean? Kind of thing. But that's a big thing for me. Is like community establishing archetypes and replayability. I think are the biggest things for me. God, I sound like a freaking CEO when I'm talking about this.
No, that's excellent points. That's very it's a well articulated point and there. What are we looking for here? It's exactly those two aspects of it.
This community is so great, and so I don't know if I've ever seen a better community, a more passionate community when it comes to their card game. And they're diehards, like they want this. They're literally begging for it. Give it to them, and they're gonna make it as good as it could possibly be, and they're going to support it. You just can't miss is probably the big problem, and that makes it hard. And I don't envy people that have to come up with this stuff because again, I'm an idea guy when it comes to all that stuff. I'm not the execution guy as much. So like I have so much respect for the people that make these products because I could not do it.
Yeah, for sure. And I do think, right, at the end of the day, I think in simplest terms, if you can reward these, you talk about the diehards, especially like the hero loyalists who have been like Az and the Cult of Azalea, right? We were talking, maybe this is the year for living legend points here, but there's an entire segment of Flesh and Blood that doesn't even necessarily like the competitive. They want to play, they want to play Bolton, like a suboptimal build, right? They want to play these kind of Janky Brews. They want Data Doll in there and doing stuff, and they want to not be punished for that. And there's no real like avenue at the moment to take your CD level hero if it was competitively and put that out in the wild. And if they can achieve that,
that's a great point. That's a great point.
We're off to the races.
Yeah, that would be an amazing thing to pull off and a great point, because I think you're just right. Like, I don't even need to add anything to that. I think you nailed it.
So you had talked about that 2023 is the year for Flesh and Blood OP in terms of racing with Wizards. Tyler Horspool, little known player with some potential here on Twitter, asks our next community question, which I think is a great tie-in here. Where would you like to see the casting of competitive Flesh and Blood go in 2023 that it hasn't gone before?
So this is a really good question, and it goes on many levels, right? And there's some different things that I'd want to get into, like the minutia of it that, you know, is probably too nerdy or whatever to go over. But there is one overarching thing that I've been saying for a long time when it comes to this, and I'd like a non-cis white male, honestly, to be in the booth with us. We are extremely cookie cut when it comes to all of it, and it's just the way it's worked out. It's not, you know, there's no nefarious act there whatsoever. You know, I would like some diversity, because like I want you to see yourself represented in the game. I mean, look at the heroes, look what we've got coming in the future and stuff. You know, we've talked about you know, representation in the game really, really mattering, right? I had like internal talks with some people, not with LSS, but some friends of mine, where I was like, what if you saw a young hero and an adult hero where in between the two heroes they transitioned? You know, and like that would be awesome to see that kind of representation in the game and stuff. And I would love to be able to have that in the booth as well, you know, to have someone that, you know, adds a little bit of representation into the booth as well. The thing is, you know, you have to find someone that can actually do the job as well. You know what I mean? And that's difficult. The job is difficult. There's a lot of stress on you. And I don't want to put someone in a position. Let me see if I can phrase this correctly. I don't want to put someone in a position for them to fail, and to fail spectacularly. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to, you know, mess someone over or like hurt their career in any way, shape, or form as well. So it would need to be the right thing, but that's something I would like. Another thing, I want more of a spectacle at the big events. We talked about this a lot this year. It never got pulled off, but at the Pro Tours and at Worlds. So when I was growing up in competitive games back in the 70s, when it was all in black and white, we had to walk uphill both ways in the snow. At the events on Sundays, there wasn't a lot for the competitors to do that weren't in the top 8. You know, we could like money draft, right? Or there might be like a PTQ or, you know, a Pro Quest for the Flesh and Blood players back in the day. But there'd be a viewing area where you could go sit down, and there'd be like a huge screen up, and you could watch the broadcast. Because back then, that's all we got was the Sunday broadcast. They didn't broadcast the whole tournament. And I remember I was fiending for that every time, because it was like the only kind of competitive thing you had of gaming at the time. You know, it was so far ahead of its own time. And I would love to be able to bring that into this, because like, can you imagine Flake in front of a group of like 50 to 100 people that are watching this? Like, well, he's not, like, say he's not doing commentary that round, right? You know, we rotate a lot. Can you imagine Flake working a crowd at Worlds or at a Pro Tour? Dude, he's so good at that, right? He's like, can you imagine him like asking questions? Like, he's maybe got a mic. We have to be on the other side of the room, obviously, for competitive integrity's sake. But he's like throwing packs to people. There's a popcorn machine. Like, how hard is it to get a popcorn machine or something, right? You know, or just a snack bar for people. And like, can you imagine like me and y'all two, like, we're just sitting there in between rounds, like I'm not casting, and we're just like crack a beer or something to watch a top 8 match, and we get to just talk about it and hang out. Because like y'all saw the picture that I put up on Twitter the other day of like, you know, when we were watching in the top 8, we had 50 people, 100 people like crowded around our booth, like watching the finals, because they couldn't see it, you know, physically over there, because there was too many people in the way, and they wanted to be able to see what was going on. And I'm not gonna lie, that was one of the coolest experiences of my career, because like I didn't realize it until I saw like I think it was Gottlieb was with me. He kind of looks over, and I saw his eyes get big, and I turn, and there's just a mass of people around us. And I was like, oh God, like I didn't even know this was going on. That was so cool. So like, I want everybody at home to have that feeling and be able to experience that, because, you know, going to these things is fun for people, right? Like, it's a vacation type thing. Like, you know, it's a destination. It's fun. You get to see your artists, right? You get to see the cosplayers. You get to see your favorite players. You get to hang out with your friends, right? You get to go play UPF with Armada, or you get to go play UPF with Red Zone Rogue. By the way, that guy is a champion when it comes to his people and the community. Like, he was just playing with everybody. I never saw a guy not playing with people that whole weekend in Worlds. And I want everyone to have their outlet, right? And if you're there competitively, like you played in Worlds, like, go sit down and enjoy it. Crack open a brew, grab yourself a water, whatever it is you want, go get a coffee and watch it. And I think that would be great to be able to share that and bring everybody together with that a little bit more and kind of celebrate what's going on at the event a little bit. Make it more of an event type thing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think one of the I grew up on Magic, right? Grew up on the Pro Tour, and in the heyday of the Pro Tour for me was like ESPN2, right?
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
So good. And everything from the like you had a cover, like you had your play-by-play, but you had like your kind of your what am I trying to say here? The coverage desk, like afterward, like in
I've been
between,
asking for that for a while too.
So you'd have 4 or 5 like talking heads at a desk, like in on the interludes talking and
like
conversing.
The Sunday morning football stuff before all the games were like
exactly.
Got the panel,
and all the way down to like the showdown area, like your big match is like it is by itself. It is in a big, it's on the stage of the amphitheater. The table was built for it, the whole 9 yards.
There's another thing there that an idea that I've had. This one's a little harder to execute, but I've thought about having the feature match area in a spot where you had like it would be normally like on the floor, like as it is, and you'd have walkways erected around it to where people could like walk by, but you're raised up off the ground, like stairs would lead, kind of like the judge area in the front, like it's up off the ground, like 5 or 6 or 7 feet. So when you're walking by, you can look down on the match and see what's going on. It leads to a couple little things here or there that you have to worry about, but it would be a cool experience where you could see everything, because it's hard to see what's going on. Like, we would love to have TVs right by the feature match area. If anybody's been there, so you can see the match more than like the 10 people standing up next to it can. But there's a lot to worry about competitive integrity as well. In France, you saw the players wore the headsets because they were really worried about that, because we did have a television and the casters we were a foot from them. We were so close to these people. So they were wearing the white noise headsets and stuff. So everything comes with its challenges, but I would love all these ideas to get executed. It's just there's a lot to it. There's a lot of moving parts.
All right. Speaking of Worlds and glorious moments, Worlds was known for 2 things and 2 things only: Michael Hamilton becoming the undisputed GOAT, and your fucking outfit. So I'm just gonna tie this into our next community questions, and there's 2 of them. One is from James Curry. I may have stolen. I'll be completely transparent with our audience. I posted the community questions everywhere, and on Facebook, I got comments, not questions. I solicited questions. I turned those comments into questions. Sure. And so one such transformation is from James Curry on Facebook, who, paraphrase, says, Tannon's outfit became as much a part of the World's Championships of Flesh and Blood as the games being played. Where did the inspiration come for his now iconic dress, and how did he get all the pieces to pull it off? I'm gonna follow this up with Anthony Zacella on Twitter adds, at Worlds, did you have on American flag boxers too? And if so, prove it.
Okay, I'm gonna try to go through piece by piece. Let's start with how I got the pieces to pull it off. So I had to order the suit online. Making sure it fit was difficult because I couldn't just. I went to like 5 different local places, including like those the Halloween places that pop up around.
Yeah, Spirit of Halloween. Yep.
Yeah,
sure.
I went to those because I was like, they have Halloween costumes that are American flag suits. 0, like there was just none anywhere. So eventually I like ordered like 2 or 3 different things on Amazon. The first one to show up fit perfectly, which is the one you saw. By the way, that suit was scratchy as hell and not comfortable to wear.
Looked it. Yep.
So I just returned the other ones. I ordered the bandana and the shades separately, so you can find all this stuff on Amazon. I think they really tied the whole outfit together, kind of thing.
Yep.
I had an actual tie for it, but that didn't make it onto coverage. And then the idea for it, I don't know, it was kind of spontaneous. Like it just came up with some people. Like I was like, I wanted to do something. So again, mentioning Flake Flake is so funny, right? Like he's just like when I talk about this a lot. There's a main reason we don't get on camera a lot together. Is he and I are kind of the same person. Like we're both like the play-by-play host, and the other people play off of us. So it's hard to have us in the booth at the same time. Also, it's really funny when it is, because he's so funny just effortlessly, and I'm kind of like the straight man is what it's referred to in media as like the serious, like hey, let's move on point A to point B to point C, like do the thing. And I have my moments, right? I might say an odd thing here or there, but I wanted to do something, right? Because I'm a kidder too. Like I joke with people a lot. I'm just pretty serious when I'm in the booth. That's just how I am. I got my inspiration growing up from like ESPN and sports broadcasters, and you're very rigid, when it comes to that stuff. And I just wanted to have some fun, and this just kind of happened spontaneously. It ended up working out, and then I remember the Discord. I remember like one of my best friends, Brian Basoko. He's on Team KFaB. He might even be playing in the league that you're in. I'm not sure if he's in the
He actually is.
He is. Okay. I couldn't remember if he was active or not. Because I know not the whole team plays, if I'm right. And he and I are like super good. We've been great friends for like 15 years, right? Like we've taken many car rides together across the country for stuff. And I was like, hey, I'm gonna turn my camera on. I tried on something. Tell me how it looks. And I turned on the camera, and I was wearing the outfit with the shades that you saw, and he just died laughing. Like he just lost it. He's like, what is that? I'm like, I think I'm gonna wear this at Worlds. And he was just like, yes, it's absolutely perfect. And so I just wanted to have some fun with that whole thing. As for did I have on flag boxers? I wear briefs. I wear boxer briefs or whatever.
Flag briefs then.
Yeah. The answer is no. And God, I should have. You know what I mean? Like that's a letdown. Yeah, I need to order some, I guess, apparently now. But I didn't. They matched, but not like that. So we had the outfit down to the.
Tony, sorry to disappoint here.
Yeah, sorry, Tony.
You're just gonna have to live without that mental image,
or with it,
Or you know what?
Not here to kink shame anybody.
Build your own fantasy. You do what you got to do, bud.
We've joked about having a Flesh and Blood calendar, like for a to donate the money somewhere, right?
Sure.
Me and Blake have joked about having someone for each month or whatever, and if we were, I'll try to find some, and maybe that's what I'll wear. And I'll be like Mr. January or something, and that's what I'll be wearing. I've been doing
not for nothing.
Lately, so.
There's I come from Magic. I come from not competitive. I'm a commander guy mostly, but I try. I've been playing for 20 plus years. Flesh and Blood, if nothing else, has a very healthy looking player base here. There's some big guys and girls hanging around there, but like there are people who take care of themselves that would be perfect for a calendar shoot. I think much more in a much more concentrated effort than maybe in the Magic world. I don't know. Maybe it's just my bias towards there, but you get like the Tarak Patels. You don't get a lot of those.
He's a good-looking man.
Yeah, he's a handsome guy.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of his. He and I have known each other for a very long time. Like I was so happy for him when he won nationals. I wish there was a camera backstage. I like freaking form tackled him when he won.
I believe it. So speaking of handsome individuals, you posted a picture earlier. You alluded to it just a moment ago, where you and Gottlieb are casting, and everyone's kind of coming in around you, and you are in full suit. And that would be enough to really center the eye in the image until you look over to the left, and there is Aaron Az from Go Again Gaming just smoldering right into the lens, and takes the whole thing over. You can't not see him as soon as you lock eyes with him. Melody Likes from Twitter community fame of the Pitch Perfect podcast commented on Facebook as well, and I transformed that into a question that goes: Az has one of the best smolders on camera we've seen to date. Who could possibly compete with him in terms of best smolder in Flesh and Blood?
The first person that came to mind is someone you just mentioned, which is Tarek. Like I think he would have a really, really good one as well. You get lost in his eyes. It's very, very easy. I don't know who else. I mean, I was going to say, Tyler Horspool, I think, is a little dreamy at times as well, too. So I think he could pull off a pretty good one. But I don't know. I mean, Az is like pretty iconic. If you haven't seen this photo, check it out on my Twitter.
It is. It's pretty.
It's
good.
really also the photo. It's like, I swear to God, the lighting of it and like how it looks like a Renaissance painting.
It does. It's very accidental Renaissance.
Yeah, like it feels like the Last Supper or something. Like there's just so much going
100%.
on. There's something in the center because like we're in the center with the lights, but like there's just so much involved. And there's like some really good faces if you like zoom in here or there or whatever. I actually just got this photo from the people who are doing the coverage because if you remember during top 8, the players all did like a fun photo of themselves or like, like a pose, and then it like showed it. I don't know if you like watched all the coverage top 8, but like when they had the versus screen of like who it was, it would have like their hero, and they would have like a still frame of like the player, like in a fighting stance or something, right? But to make sure that was doable, we had to test it. And so I was the guinea pig. And so I don't know if I'm ever going to release these photos, but I have about like 8 photos of me doing different poses and funny things. And they're ridiculous of, just to test it out and try it out. There's like some really ridiculous poses from me in there. So I am not a model, by the way. I'm not very good at that stuff.
I do want to shout out one of my favorite smolders is Uber Shouts. Mitch Leslie's just got the eyes, he's got the structure. There's been some accidental pauses on YouTube on my TV watching the Clash tournament and Goliath Gauntlet where it's like, oh hey there, bud.
His wife is a lucky woman.
We're gonna look at each other for a little bit here.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of his.
All right, I am as well. All right, we're rounding the bases here. And speaking of baseball, if I could easily identify what you're most passionate about outside of TCGs, I'd have to say it's the Atlanta Braves and baseball. I'm from Massachusetts. Adam is from Canada, right? Go Sox, get your shit together. Adam
Go Jays, get your shit together.
Yeah, hey man, you got a good team up in Toronto.
You know what we did? We had a good run near the end of the season, and then it just all came apart in that wild card series.
I am admittedly a football first kind of guy. So New England Patriots, Tom Brady. I get 7 rings to show for my fandom here. But you love the Atlanta Braves. Where's your Braves tattoo? Do you have one? And tell me about the Atlanta Braves and how good of a team they are for you.
So it's kind of funny. I don't have an Atlanta Braves tattoo, and I probably won't. I'm not a tattoo guy. Like, I can appreciate them. I don't know if I could ever do it personally. You see me looking around the room. I have a replica World Championship ring somewhere around here because if anybody remembers watching Orlando last year during U.S. Nationals, you might have noticed that I was there, but I wasn't there. Like, I didn't do as much of the show as I normally would, or I sounded weird to you. I was actually playing hurt. I had a strained vocal cord diagnosed by Tark Patel, who is a doctor. He's an actual MD. Yeah. And I actually went to the World Series the week before, to go to all the games for the Atlanta Braves playing the Houston Astros, and just completely destroyed my voice. Worth it, by the way. The Atlanta Braves are, in my opinion, I'm going to get shit for this if you know any baseball stuff, but I will say this. I have done ESPN radio for baseball and stuff. I know a little bit about what I'm talking about here, but they are the best and most complete roster in the major leagues, especially for the next 5 to 7 years. But you're not guaranteed anything in the game. They don't play the games on paper and stuff. So we'll see what happens. It's a great time to be a Braves fan. Brand new stadium out there. It's only been open for about 4 or 5 years. It's absolutely amazing. So if you're in the area or there's ever an event in Atlanta again, try to go to a game. It's utterly ridiculous. And it just is my favorite thing in the world. So they play 162 games a year in the regular season.
So much. How do you do that? How do you get through? Football just went to 17. And that's too much. And it's already hockey's 82.
82 for hockey.
Crazy thing. I don't miss a game.
160. Ugh.
I only miss the games that I absolutely have to. Otherwise, I watch every game. Like, I pay for the, what is it, like MLB Extra Inning, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
So if I'm...
Go ahead. I was just to say, like, how much of watching every game, though, is like, I'm going to watch a game while I'm going to do something of, a chore or something like that. Like, I'll put on the Jays and I'll paint minis or something like that, like, for sure.
I'll do the dishes, right, or I'll cook while it's on the TV in the living room. No, there's definitely some of that, but like I actively sit down and watch, like a decent bit, like a very decent bit. It's my favorite thing in the world. It's my reality television, right? Like don't get me wrong, I do like TV. I like binging series, just like anybody else. I have Netflix, I have HBO Max, and all that stuff. But it is just my favorite thing in the world. It's my beer when I get home from work, right? It's my unwinding thing, and I just absolutely love it. My life's a lot better during baseball season than when it's not. And yeah, like I mean, during one of the, I think it was like the Cincinnati calling. It's like the Braves were playing the Dodgers to make the World Series, and I remember I asked if I could do more of the event up front in the beginning, and then they could finish like the last 2 rounds, so I could go watch the game. And I had to go like run to a local, place pub that was like still open at like 7 o'clock at night, and I'm the only dude at the bar just yelling at the television like I'm a freaking madman, because that's me. That's just it's just what I like. It's what I love. I have a bajillion jerseys. I've got like signed jerseys. I got all kinds of memorabilia. I absolutely love the stuff. It's just my favorite thing in the world. I don't know. I grew up on TBS, because there's no team in Louisiana.
Yeah, that's right. That's Braves are TBS. Yep, that's for sure.
That's just how it happened. Just absolutely love it. If I had to get a tattoo, there's a chance it might be something along those lines, though. So that might be my favorite FaB hero with like the Atlanta Braves logo or something.
That'd be kind of cool.
Who is your favorite FaB hero?
I am a Runeblade stan. I think Briar is my favorite hero of all time, closely followed by Oldhim.
Okay, well, all right. You had me in the first half there, but
you had to go in the first half.
You lost me in the second there. Okay, all right. One more. I forgot to put it in the show notes. I keep doing this.
Always
to our
forget
guests,
to put it in the show notes.
I do. It's because
I'm starting to think this is on purpose.
It's really not. Well, I'll tell you what happened.
We'll
is that I get the show notes ready while I'm supposed to be working at my office job, and I usually get to a certain point, and then I'm like, all right, I'll just add, this is the stuff I add in the end, the plugs and all that stuff.
By the way, I totally feel this because this is my job on my podcast, and I always forget something. Like always.
Yeah, it is always. So I always go, I'll wrap this up real quick, and then I never get, and then it's time. And I had all the intentions, but we got a couple more community questions at the last second that I really wanted to throw in there. So the last question is a question I ask every guest. It's become kind of a tradition here, and it's general, it's very open-ended, no pressure here. But what is something you'd like people to know about you that they don't know now?
Oh wow, that's a
it's a real broad. It's a broad brush here.
Yeah,
I mean, we've already talked about poker, talked about baseball. What more is there?
Right. Life is an open book here. What's on one of the pages unseen?
Believe it or not, I was actually pretty good at athletics growing up. Like I said, I was one of those guys. I was good at every sport, but not great at any of them, kind of thing. I was pretty good at golf for a guy that was like self-taught or whatever. But I was the worst player on the best team the state had ever seen. So I got a ring, but like they didn't need me, kind of thing. I was still like way better than the average player, but there was that. I was really good at video games for a while, believe it or not. I think that's probably a nerd thing that just goes across. That's in fact my first foray into professional gaming wasn't Magic or anything like that. It was I played in like an MLG event for like Halo 1 or whatever.
Okay, all right, yeah. Okay.
But there was like no money in it back then, and I played against some of the people. Yeah, well, I mean, like when I say no money, I mean like the first prize was like a few $100. Nowadays it'd be like tens of thousands or whatever, kind of thing. But it was like us showing up to a place with a table or CRT TVs, like hook them all up together with our Xboxes, and like you sit across from the people and you'd be like shit talking each other, and you'd have stopwatches glued to your controller so you could time the power ups and stuff like that. We got serious, like this was some real stuff. That's a whole other lifetime, kind of thing. But
sure.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else about me. Like, I mean, I love baseball, but people get that. I make a baseball reference almost every single broadcast.
Baseball is definitely something they know.
Yeah, it kind of just comes out. Like, I don't really, I'm not like, there's not like a checklist where I'm like, and there's the baseball reference, check that one off, kind of thing. Yeah, I have a little dash next to that one. I have a dog. I'm a dog person. That's something I absolutely adore dogs. I have a Pomeranian that is the love of my life. She's this little bitty, like she's so tiny, but she's like 80% fur. She's like 8 pounds, but I think 4 of it's fur. And I'm one of those guys, like, when you see like the I'm not big, but I'm 6 feet tall, but like, the dudes that like the little tiny dogs, we talk to them like, oh my God, that's my little girl. I'm totally one of those people.
Yeah. Does your, all right, we're all dog owners here.
Sure.
Does your dog have a voice?
Yeah. Like, you mean like I specifically have a voice that I talk to, or just her? She's the only one that gets that?
She'll come up to you and she'll talk and she'll do it in a voice.
Yeah.
Excellent. I won't ask you.
I'm the
to do
soft
it.
one. She knows she can get away with stuff with me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Adam, does your dog have a voice? How many of your animals do have a voice?
All of them
4
do.
distinct voices.
4 distinct voices, especially the cats. Like I engage in conversations with the cats all the time, and I have these ideas in my head for what they're saying. And
yeah. We at home. I got 2 dogs, and I have my in-laws also have 2 dogs, and we share space. So there's 4 dogs between us. I have an English bulldog and a pit mix, and the English bulldog is a gruff inner city chap, as one might imagine, and my pit mix is a very, very posh British woman. And
mine is super posh.
We just we just exit the building when they talk. It's very we have to reel ourselves back sometimes when we do it, but it's a fun time. All right, that's just too much weird for me. All right, that is going to do it for the interview here. Tannon, thank you very much for coming on to the Combat Chain with us. This has been a great time with you. This is the opportunity where you can plug your stuff, whatever. Where can we find you? What you got coming up? Throw it all out there.
The easiest place to find me is on Twitter under the Tannon Grace. Usually I'll announce anything on there that's going on. You can find me under FaB broadcasts, some Magic broadcasts. I don't get to do all of them. Definitely want to shout out 983 Media for the Goliath Gauntlet. Make sure you check that out if you haven't checked it out in the past. More stuff to come in the future. I'm not 100% guaranteeing season 2. I'm 99.9% guaranteeing season 2. We got to make sure everything works out and stuff like that. So make sure you check out 983 Media. There's great podcasts on there if you like Flesh and Blood. Tons of Flesh and Blood content on there for you to check out. So thanks for giving me that opportunity. You guys are awesome, and thanks for having me on the show.
Not a problem. And now it is our turn. The Combat Chain is on YouTube. You can find us if you search the Combat Chain. Be sure to like, subscribe, and click the bell notification to know when the latest episode is uploaded. We are available on all audio platforms wherever you stream your podcasts. The best way to support us is through our Patreon. You can find us at www.patreon.com/thecombatchain, and you can subscribe to us there. It is a single tier and helps us tremendously to keep the lights and mics up and running. We want to shout out our patrons here: Clark J, Eugene C, Devin, Tyquius, Arcfire. Thank you very much for your support. You can find us on Twitter, of course. The channel's handle is at the Combat Chain. You can find me at Pat Smashgood, and you can find Adam at FomTooleryTCG. You can find us also through January on the FaB Team Cup channel on YouTube. You can find that at FaB Team Cup. Where we're doing live streams all over the place. We're doing play-by-play. Check us out over there. It's a great thing going on, and where we love being a part of it. All right, that is going to do it. Tannon, we have one more little piece of business that we'd like to do before we call it a day. So every episode I close out by saying until next week, and in unison everyone here is going to say, we're closing the Combat Chain. Ham it up a little bit, but we'll all say it at once. It'll be in unison, it'll be harmonious, it'll be perfect. Is that something I can ask of you today?
I'll do my best.
Excellent. That is all anyone can ask for. All right, that is going to do it for us. Thank you again to Tannon Grace for coming on to the Combat Chain. We appreciate you. You have been an incredible guest, and that is going to do it for us. So, until next week, we're closing the Combat Chain. Good stuff right there.
Nailed it.
We did. That was actually good. It is definitely top 5.
Sure.
There's been some duds.
Well, Hayden's last week was so funny because it's just you and me, and then Hayden just at the end like closing the Combat Chain.
That's actually kind of funny. I like that. Yeah.